I want to make a couple of points just before we start. Firstly, this investor pitch deck I do can be used theoretically at any stage and for any product. Now, it might sound like, wow, that's amazing, but that's what it is, because I've developed it over like 10 years plus, and we've had, the way I do it is I meet VCs, we've had events. I think Dr. Thayer was, people have attended our events where you have 100, 200 people pitching to investors. So it's very up to date. The other point I want to make, and it's very important, that what's going on at the moment, I won't mention the C word, but whatever's going on at the moment, it doesn't really affect the outcome of the investors, to be honest with you, because they are still investing and they still have investments to do every month, right? So that's an ongoing process. And even if there's a few delay here and there, there's still money to be put into for good projects. No question about that, right? So let me start this thing. The way the agenda is there'll be an introduction. We've already spent a few minutes introducing ourselves. Few people are still coming in. And it's just an introduction. Then I'll go through some of the specific pitch slides. We're talking of 10 pitch slides you have to do in 5 minutes to an investor. We'll do a few of them then, and I'll give you the background, and then we'll do a Q&A at the end. So let's start with this one. Hello, and welcome to this course on Investor Pitch Deck for Funding. My name is Osman De Silva, and I'm the founder of Tech Citizen Entrepreneurship Academy based in London. Section 1, Course Introduction. Objectives of this course. The main objectives of this course are, firstly, the founder's view. It will focus on what the founder has to do in order to attract the best investor and investment. For this to occur, the founder must present the investor with a complete package. Also, there will be many other founders all aiming to get investment as well. This makes the process highly competitive, so you will need to present the investor with a package that stands out from and above the rest. This means you are investment ready. The investor's view. Each investor will have their own specific selection criteria. They will only select a few companies to invest in from the many they will see each year. In order for the investor to make a selection, they will need to screen companies carefully and then form a shortlist. The partners of the firm will then agree to meet with you and then to invest in your company. Finally, funding success. Funding success arrives only when the founders and the investors' aims are aligned. This means there is an investor-company fit. It is your objective to pitch first to the investor and then to be called for a follow-up meeting. Remember that this will be a long-term relationship between the founder and the investor, say at least for 10 years. For this reason, all sides must ensure there is a good match well before they get into a relationship. Course benefits. This course is for entrepreneurs. These are people who already have a business that is a few years old. They may have been successful in achieving a few investment rounds in the past. However, they are looking for sources of finance to expand their operations. Startup founders. These are people who have recently started a startup and need investment to build a small team and a basic product called the MVP, or minimum viable product. They may have achieved an initial small family and friends round. And finally, potential entrants. These are people who are considering entering the startup scene. They're doing lots of research in order to ascertain the risks and rewards of starting a startup. For this reason, they are interested in knowing what the funding process entails. About myself, I'm an experienced mentor and business coach at Tech Citizen Entrepreneurship Academy in London, which has over 8,000 members. Tech Citizen.
Right. I think a lot of people know me, and people who don't know me can always do some research on me. Basically, I'm bringing like 30 years experience into this. My background is electronic engineering, stroke computing, and I'm an accountant as well. But this course is based on actual knowledge from investors, VCs, and angel investors. And my two meetup groups of 10,000 people are based in London and in Silicon Valley. So I think that's enough of me. But the point I want to make from the initial slide is you need to be putting yourself in the investors' boots as well. I understand from your point of view is, oh, I just need the money, I need the money, I need the money now. But try and understand that the investor is your customer, which is the point I will come on to in a minute. In the same way, you have to get customers to pay you money for the sales. Think of the investors being a customer giving you money for investment or buying a part of your company.
You will need to focus on what makes a winning pitch deck. The pitch deck and the pitch must be a win-win for the investor and the founder. What is an investor pitch deck? The investor pitch deck is a short presentation that represents the current state of the company or startup. It is for founders who are seeking investment and for investors who would like to invest in companies. The founder will use the 10-slide pitch deck to pitch to an investor in a short time frame, say 5 minutes. Who is responsible? Who is it for? The person responsible should have a good overall understanding of the company, and they will need to have numerical skills. The pitch deck must get approval from all stakeholders in the company. Why do you make a pitch deck? You make a pitch deck in order to plan for future investment rounds. When is it prepared? You must prepare the pitch deck several months in advance of your funding requirements. You need this time in order to improve, iterate on your offering, and practice your pitching. Also, you will need to keep the pitch deck updated every few months.
Okay, a couple of things I need to mention about this slide. In the same way you are thinking of your customers as being an ongoing process and it's evolving, I really think you should treat your investors in the same way you treat your customers, that you need to spend time for them over a very long period of time. And you start with zero and then you slowly build up in the same way I built up Tech Citizen, 10 years ago. We start with zero and now it's 10,000 members. This is only a suggestion because I don't know everyone's company. There are different people. I think Carlos has joined us from Silicon Valley, which is quite interesting because we get people from there as well. What it is, I would suggest that if you have a small team and you have 10 slides to produce, you give 3 slides to one person, 3 slides to another person, 3 slides to another person. So the workload is actually spread out. And you'll see if they can specialize on 3 rather than one person doing the whole thing, which is a lot of work, right?
How is it prepared? You need to list the important points and factors about your company in short bullet points, say 3 to 4 bullet points per slide. So, for a pitch deck of 10 slides, you will list around 30 key points. Keep the presentation in a story format with a beginning, middle, and end. Avoid forward loading the presentation. This means do not try to impress by putting too much information up front. How is it presented? Think of this as a high-level plan that you need to deliver to an investor in 5 minutes. So you need to make it more visual and less text-based. The text will be in short bullet points. You must avoid making it look like a text dump. In a 5-minute presentation, less is more. You must get your points across succinctly, and for this reason, you have to focus on the key points only. Investor pitch deck is not. You must be clear on exactly what a pitch deck is, and equally important, what it is not. It is not a product demo. So do not get into the technical details of a product and avoid showing the investor a product demo within the first 5 minutes of the investor pitch. It is not a marketing deck. Do not go into details about your marketing strategy, tactics, and successes. It is not a customer pitch. You are not doing a sales pitch about selling products, so avoid acting like a salesman or woman.
Okay, there are several points I want to raise here. Basically, the points I'm raising is, over the years, I've seen people do the same sort of mistakes. Everyone does it. It's not like something unusual. The first is, you want your pitch deck to be very succinct. So I think I can hear a bit of background noise. You want the information to be as minimum as possible, but you want to highlight the key points. If someone asks you for pitch deck to give a presentation for 5 minutes, you make sure that you're 100% within the 5-minute mark. No question, there's no negotiating on that. And secondly, other mistake is, if they ask you for, if an investor asks you for 10 slides, you give 10 slides. Now, this might seem awesome. What are you talking about? Of course, I can count 10 slides. But when I ask you for 10 slides, they give me 11, 12 slides, right? And I always see people pitching, they go over the mark. If I give them 5 minutes, they'll take 6 minutes. The investor is not interested in the quantity of your presentation. They're purely interested in the quality of your presentation. Another key mistake, and this is a very big one, a lot of the founders and people pitching think that they're actually pitching their product to the investor. That should not be your intention at all. In my 10 pitch slide, you only get 1 slide on the product. That means 30 seconds, right? Half a minute on the product, that's it. And you're not allowed to show any demo or anything. So what you are actually doing, and the point I want to emphasize up to this point, is you're actually selling them your business as a whole, not a part of it, not a product within the business. You're selling them the whole business idea as a whole. Quickly go over this types of funding.
What type of funding is this used to obtain? The concepts in this course and the pitch deck can be used to present to many types of investors, namely angel investors, venture capitalists, crowdfunding, grant funding, and initial coin offerings, ICOs. Use it when a short and initial presentation is required.
If you want, in the chat box, could you just tell me so I have an indication of who's looking for family and friends round, possibly an angel round of, or venture capital or crowdfunding, grant funding. If you want, just put it in the, if it's not, if it's not confidential, just put it in the chat box. I have some idea. Oh, I can see, right. Angel, family and friends. Yeah, fantastic. Anyone looking for VC? Right. Only in family and friends. Okay. With the now, this is an interesting point. Just because you get money from family and friends, and you can get a few £1,000 here, a few £1,000 there, you must treat the family and friend round very differently from a professional investor. The family and friends might give you money, blah, 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 whatever. The thing is, the professional investor doesn't know you, and they are seeing hundreds upon hundreds of pitch decks. So you've got to be very careful when you put any professional investor, could be VC, could be, angel, very differently from a family and friends round or from crowdfunding, right? These are professional investors seeing hundreds of decks every day. So let's look at how we get the pitch deck.
10-slide pitch deck layout. I will now discuss each of the 10 slides in the pitch deck. The layout of the 10 slides is as follows. 1. Introduction. 2. The problem. 3. The solution. 4. Market opportunity and scalability. 5. Monetization and metrics. 6. Technology know-how. 7. Competition. 8. Team. 9. Financial forecast and model. Finally, 10. Conclusion and summary.
Right. This is only my example over the years for the layout of the pitch deck. So it's 10 slides in 5 minutes. So every slide you have about 30 seconds, which is very fast. Now, what you should always have, you can make your own variation of this. There is no standard format as such. It just depends on you and the investor doing your research and so on and so forth. I cannot tell you without knowing your business case what exactly slides you should put in, but this I think is a very good format as a starting point. So this is the 5-minute one. I would also recommend that everyone has a 1-minute thing, like an elevator pitch. Say you met someone, in the lift, and you have to just tell them quickly within a minute what your business is about. So have a 1-minute pitch. Also have a 3-minute pitch, which has maybe 6 slides in it, half the time, and try that as well. So just keep these different variations ready and be flexible and adaptable to what the person wants when they want you to pitch to them. So this is the first slide.
Section 2, Pitch Slide 1, Introduction. I will start by explaining slide 1 of the 10-slide pitch deck. The next sections will explain each of the following 9 slides of the deck. Start by keeping the first slide, the introduction slide, simple. At this point, you want to raise the investor's curiosity and you would like him to ask for more. Introduction slide. Put a tagline that describes what your company is about in an exciting and engaging way, i.e., what does your company do? However, it will need to be specific and you must avoid using technical and technology terms. For example, we are a travel company that gets your travel needs organized at the touch of a button. Or, we take care of all your requirements during your enjoyable travels around the world. Think of the tagline as an elevator pitch that you have to deliver in 1 sentence. You can also use this line when meeting people during networking sessions. Use an image in the background that reflects what your company is about. For example, if it is about travel, then put a picture of a holiday scene. Write the name of a company, the speaker's name and his title, the tagline, and the date. No need to put your company contact details. Spend less time on presenting the slide as it has less content.
Right. Very quickly, before we do the next one. To answer Vishal's question, it will depend on if you're seeing an investor, they might ask you for specific information. Again, I cannot comment. You give them whatever information they require. If they do not ask for any specific slides, then you can use this model of mine. So to clarify, slide 3, I will be coming on to slide 3 is actually the solution. The technology slide comes a bit later. Right, could you all very quickly do for me in one sentence, could you write to me what your tagline is in one sentence in the chat box, just in one sentence, what your tagline of your company is? So, for example, say, for example, Tech Citizen, there's a reason why I'm asking you to do this. Tech Citizen could be to educate entrepreneurs and startups on how to prepare a pitch deck for an investor meeting. For example, that could be, right, ultra luxury perfected for pets. That's a good one. But remember, I want, you should make a slightly bigger tagline. When you say luxury, are you talking of a spa? Is it one specific thing or several things? That's a very good thing. From Arvind, I've got to educate entrepreneurs. No, that's from me, actually. Sorry, no, that was from Arvind. Building future-ready, positive humans for the planet. That is very, very, it needs to be very specific, yeah? Now, okay, let me give you some clues. Let me give you some clues here. Within a tagline, as I told you, it's almost like you meet someone in an elevator pitch and you literally have a minute, probably even less than a minute, tell them what you'll do. Now let me see Jerome's one. A portable device to track, manage, monitor, and protect your assets without battery recharging. Now that is much better, right? If you look at Jerome's one, that is much better. And Jerome, I'm presuming it is for B2B. You could put in for B2B, if it's B2B mainly, I would put that in. Yeah, I would put that in. I would put that in, definitely. Because that makes it even more specific. You see, the investor will feel very confident in you if you're able to give a tagline like Jerome's, which is very, very clear. And now, the other important point, you'll have to specify within that tagline, there's a lot of information you put in the tagline, who your customer is. This is why I said, Jerome, it's better if he puts in B2B rather than saying it's for everyone, because his base is mainly B2B, right? So you can improve on that. I mean, some are saying it's a mouthful, but that's fine. I think it's quite good. You see, you need a bit of practice to improve on this, but we can't do it in this session. It's something you need to improve on. Right, let's look at-
Might that be better?
Okay.
Here are a couple of examples of introduction slides from Kangaroo, the travel app, and Enlive, the interior design app.
Right, if we look at Kangaroo, I know it's very easy to criticize other people's work, but this is an ongoing learning process. Can you put in the chat box, what improvements could you make to Kangaroo as their first slide? Just brief bullet points, how you would improve Kangaroo. Anyone? Okay, I can make a start, but if you want to put some comments, how you would improve this first slide of Kangaroo. Firstly, I think the background image is very dark. You have to be careful. here now. With the presentation, you have to be very careful because you could have investors or a group of people, like I have 100, 200 people in a room, and they'll be sitting way back. Some are sitting way back, some are sitting way front. I think that the background image could be improved much better. This is just my opinion. You might have different opinions. The mobile phone could be made a bit bigger on the left-hand side. There's a lot of space. He's not using that properly. Let's see your comments. I've got from Carlos. I would add more language on what the problem and solutions are. Right, we are not talking about problem and solution at this stage. I just want to know what, this is only an introduction to what it is about. We'll come on to the problem solution later. Oh, right, we'll come to the name of the entrepreneur is not put in with the title. Yeah, okay. In Australia, I would use a better model to represent that, fine. And what about, can I have your honest opinions on and live, which is interior design? I'll make a start. Looks like it's made in word art. I don't know what that means. Needs a better color scheme, definitely. Considering its interior design, I think it's very poorly done. It could use color rather than just using a one pink background. I don't think it's particularly nice. Now, at the bottom, you would put speaker, whatever, CEO Lakshmi Ball, so they know who the speaker is when they're talking. Because you could have 2 or 3 of your colleagues in the room with the investor. They need to know who it is by. And it's also good to put the date as well. You could improve on these taglines. Looks basic. Can't really see the interior design as it's all purple. Yeah, needs a better color scheme, definitely. Okay, I mean, there's various ways you can improve on it, but it's always easy to find problems in other people's thing. Right, body language.
Body language, posture and poise. It is easy to make common body language mistakes when making presentations to investors or to an audience of peers and colleagues. The more practice you have, the better you become at presenting. You can practice in front of friends, at pitch events and at meetup events. You can also attend events and watch other founders pitch. The key to-dos are: 1. Keep an upright posture at all times. Face the audience as much as possible and keep good eye contact. Add emotion and passion to your presentation. Confidence. You must be confident with your delivery as follows. Ensure your tone of voice and pitch is variable, i.e., do not speak in a monotone or flat manner. Pause whenever possible. Dress smartly. Have a smile on your face and look relaxed. Show enthusiasm and excitement. Avoid getting distracted by what the audience members or investors are doing. You must focus solidly on delivering the pitch correctly.
The important thing I want to make with this slide is whatever you do, you will need lots and lots of practice before you actually go to see an investor. Then the question you ask me is how on earth can I get the practice? And now considering that everyone is, you can't go to a meetup session and practice. You can do things via Facebook. You can ask, via Skype or whatever, or Zoom. Just tell your friend, look, can you give me 5 minutes? I need to do this pitch to you in 5 minutes exactly. And just go ahead and do it. You just need practice. And this practice must be over a period of time. And you need to see how you are improving in your communication and confidence. These 2 words, communication and confidence. Because when an investor or someone looks at you, they get various clues on how confident you are in terms of your presentation. I think you'll know what I'm trying to say. I could spend the whole weekend talking about this. But we'll go on to the next thing, which is now. You were talking about problem solution. This is where we start getting into the problem and solution.
Section 3, pitch slide 2, the problem. The first thing you have to identify and articulate is the customer problem. This is their pain point or obstacle they face in life. The problem. You must clearly state the problem that you are solving. Identify the customer or target group that have this problem. You need to explain why this is a problem to the particular group and why it is a challenge for them. You can briefly mention that the current solutions, if any, do not work and are inadequate. State how urgent or important the problem is. For example, diabetes epidemic or access to fresh water. You can make the problem personal and relatable by stating the experiences you have had in your own life or in business. If there is no problem, then there is no need for a solution. You must start with the buyer's needs, wants, and requirements. In particular, the problem must be a pain point and a priority. Even better if you can demonstrate that there is a deep desire for a solution. This means that you can demonstrate demand. This is the what, W-H-A-T, referring to what problem you are solving.
Right. It might seem obvious. I mean, everyone's coming up with, the new software, and they've got all their startups, and, they say, oh, we have demand for this, demand for that, and lots of ideas. And ideas actually, to be honest, quite useless. We know that in business. You need to show that there is a problem. And how you do that, we'll explain that in a minute. But that is the key thing. The investor is looking for problem and then a solution fit, right? Let's look at some real examples.
Here are a couple
I
of...
have to go back, sorry.
Section 3, pitch slide 2, the problem.
Okay, sorry, I'm getting a bit lost here.
Here are a couple of examples of problem slides from Kangaroo, the Australian travel app, and Locorum, a local business marketing app. It is good to give 3 problems you are solving in this slide.
Okay, again, there's real life examples. This is Kangaroo. I always like to put 3 problems. It could be 3 mini problems that you're solving rather than just putting 1, because then the investor will think, well, oh, maybe that one we're not absolutely sure about. Maybe there is a problem, maybe there isn't. But if you put 3 and they're all interrelated, it makes it a very strong case. Does anyone see anything that can be improved on this slide, the problem slide of Kangaroo? Just put in your comments. Yeah. I mean, he's quite, yeah. Arvind has put 4 different fonts. I don't know what it means, but may need to delete it. There's different fonts. This is another reason I would suggest, if you can, give it to a professional, what do you call it, graphic designer or someone who knows what they're doing, because you don't want people to find faults in that. Is there anything wrong with the other one? With this one, Locorum, which is about local businesses. Yeah, you can use Canva. Yes. That's fine. And of course, you'll be iterating it. You'll be asking your friends and family to look over it. You might even go to some practice pitches. I'm not sure whether they have any now at the moment because of the thing. Do you think this slide is okay for Locorum, which is local businesses? Or do they have to give more information? Or you think These don't look like realistic examples. Are they real examples? True. Yeah. The problems aren't explained. Agree with you. Oh, now this is a good point. Vishal Patel said the problems aren't explained. You must understand the point I'm trying to make here. When you see a slide, of course, I mean, it's common sense when I tell you this, you all do not have to verbalize everything in your slide because you could be talking over certain points. So maybe in this particular slide, the founder decided to talk over the points and make the slides minimalist. It's up to you. I personally think it's better not to overload the slides and talk over or about the slides. So it could be that, we don't know.
Customer identification. In your business, remember that the customer comes first. You must be a customer-centric company. Watch the video with Jack Ma talking about putting the customer first. Show that you are a customer-facing company, i.e., focus on the front end. You can provide evidence for this from customer feedback, reviews, surveys, market research, testing, having customer persona profiles, examining customer behavior, and from customer experience. All data you collect must be from a large and diverse sample. Customer interaction must be regular and a daily exercise. Quote, "There are no facts inside the building, so get the heck outside," by Steve Blank. Collect your customer data from in-field research. Make sure the data collected is current, regular, and updated. Identify the early adopters and get them to use and test your product as much as possible. For example, students, tech-savvy people, members of meetup groups. State facts and figures. Avoid stating your ideas, your thoughts, opinions, and assumptions. The investor wants to see the evidence.
A lot of founders, they like making their assumptions or their thoughts known to the investors, that they think this, the market will grow by 10%, blah, blah, blah. We could become the biggest company and take over Amazon, and we could spread all over India, China, whatever. Investors are not interested in assumptions. You've got to be able to back up everything you are saying, because you do not want to be in a situation where the investor catches you out and then you have no evidence, right? So always have backup information. Dr. Tahir is saying students are best. The questions you ask them from them may surprise you. The questions you get from them may surprise you, yeah. But also you want to be careful that you not just restrict yourself to one group of people, like only students. You want to have a wide range of people, different backgrounds, different countries and stuff like that. Now, in terms of, if I asked you all, which would you put in number 1, 2, and 3 in terms of running a business? Would you put the product first, the team first, or the customer first, or in 1, 2, and 3 order? What most startups do, they spend virtually all their time being product focused. And that's what they end up doing. They fall in love with the product. And that's what they end up doing, selling to the investors the product, which they shouldn't be doing. They should be selling the business to the investor. And what Jack Ma is saying is a very important point, that you have to put the customer first, always, in everything you do. And when the customer is not static, they keep changing all the time. Their needs, wants, requirements keep changing. Now with the C word, things have changed a lot as well. So don't spend a disproportionate time on the product. Spend, as I told you, on a regular basis, spend time on the customer and on trying to get investment. It should be an ongoing thing over a long period of time. So customer discovery must be regular and part of your daily routine. Let's look at the solution now.
Section 4, pitch slide 3, the solution. Solving and serving. Clearly state the solutions to the problem. Make sure to state 3 main problems and the corresponding 3 solutions. So, each problem will have a unique match to each solution. You will need to explain how the customer will benefit once they buy into your solutions. Also explain why the solution is urgent and important for the customer. Make sure that you are not just describing product features or enhancements. You must identify the problem first and then work backwards towards a solution. Avoid looking for solutions for which there is no problem or pain point. This is a common mistake. Monetization is important for the investor. Can you show that the customer is able and willing to pay for your solution? This is the why, WHY, as it states the reason why you want to develop this product or service.
Okay, what I'm suggesting in this solution slide is if you present the investor with 3 problems that are very interrelated, and then you produce the same matching solutions for each of those 3 problems. So you get 3 solutions that match the 3 problems. Also, I put here, avoid looking for solutions and then make sure that it can comply with regulations. For example, if you have a fintech, there are a lot of people coming out with fintech. You need to have a lot of regulations before you even start. Also, you'll know that if you have a hardware product, you need a lot of things to develop the hardware, like engineering and stuff like that, to get it going. Make sure that you can account for customer behavior. Good examples, customer behavior, I told you, changes from day to day, from time to time. I mean, if you look at the 2 classic examples, Airbnb and Uber were massive companies a few months ago. And also the vertical, which is sharing, the sharing economy was going through the roof. Everyone wanted to share things. They didn't want to buy anything. And, you know, save the world by sharing. And now what's happened? Where's Airbnb? Where's Uber? What's happening to the sharing economy, right? Will it pick up again? Yeah. Or will these companies go bankrupt if this continues for a long time? So you see things change, be prepared for these changes. Let's look at the solution slide now.
This is the solution slide for Kangaroo, the travel app.
Someone's coughing.
Problem solution fit. This is the first fit you must test for. You can give this test a score out of 10. The better the fit, the higher the score. You must ask yourself these 3 questions. A, how urgent is the customer pain point? B, how strong a solution can you provide? C, how well does the solution fit the problem? To understand problem solution fit, it is good to look at the curve suggested by Ash Moiria. The first stage is the problem solution fit, i.e., the customer development stage. It is about finding a problem and then the solution to it. You must do the stage before moving on to the next. He also gives you specific ways to demonstrate demand by testing it on a sample of potential customers. You will also need to document this carefully to show evidence of credibility to your investor.
This is an interesting point because if a founder comes to me with a problem and they says, oh, well, these are the solutions, that does not necessarily mean you have a problem solution fit. So for example, you've got to examine things like the price points. Is it a very complicated product? Someone's coughing in the background. For example, I see Salesforce trying to sell to startups. Now you might think, oh, well, that's a brilliant, it's a brilliant, startups have a problem of, customers and stuff like that, and the sales. Wouldn't Salesforce be, I mean, it's a very established company, very large company. Would that be a good solution? Probably not, because it's a very complicated product, right? So just because there's a solution and you have a problem doesn't mean they go hand in glove or hand in hand together. Always think about that. You have to find the fit. This topic, now this thing is quite interesting, and again, you have to listen very carefully to this. It's to do with market opportunity and scalability. Very important thing that the investor is interested in.
Section 5, pitch slide 4, market opportunity and scalability. Market size and sector. This is about the market size and sector. The market sector or vertical you are in, for example, could be hotel and tourism, education, fashion and food, finance, healthcare, real estate, or retail. The investor will want to know the total size of your market as well. This is called the TAM or TAM, or total addressable market. Ideally, investors are looking for companies that are in A, large markets, for example, the sectors mentioned above, B, growing markets, for example, business software, renewables, healthcare, and C, with many users who are repeat buyers, for example, online education or travel. New and untested markets are also of interest to investors, as these markets are uncontested with little or no competition. You will need to show the data on market size for A, your local market, for example, the UK, and international or global markets. You will need to explain why the product can scale fast. A, because of standardization. B, it's a replicable model. And C, it can be transferred overseas easily. There are two types of market research. A, primary. This is where you do all the research yourself by using surveys, interviews, and questionnaires. Or B, secondary. This is where you use the information provided publicly by market research firms. It is better to use both types of research. Remember that secondary research will not always meet your needs, and that all research data must be current in order to be of value. Always reference sources and dates for information and data. You can put this in small print at the bottom of your slide.
Okay, you must remember when you're talking to an investor about your product, they actually won't know anything about it, although they might have seen similar products, because the technology is changing so fast. It's just impossible to keep up with everything. You have to find what your total addressable market is. So the investor is looking for large markets, and the word "and" is very important, and growing markets as well, because you can have a large market, very large market that's stagnant. For example, the food industry, it's huge, but it's very stagnant. It isn't sort of growing. So they're looking for large markets, and you have to show them that it's a growing market as well. The reason why they need to know the total addressable market size, I'll explain this in more detail here, is they need to know what the size of the market is. because the bigger the market, the more you'll be able to sort of take a piece of that cake. If the market size is very small, you might not. People have asked me questions, can you find investors for niche markets or for non-profits? Of course you can, but this thing is mainly, this slide presentation is for sort of VCs and investors.
Look at the example of Kangaroo, the travel app. It gives excellent information on the Australian travel market in one slide. A, total visitor spend per year. B, the market growth for 4 years, i.e. the growth rate. C, market trends on the right hand side. And finally D, the data source referenced in small print at the bottom.
Right. Carlos has asked a very good question. Carlos, welcome. I know you're visiting from Silicon Valley. He said showing scalability is essential for VCs. Well, this is where it's good you're actually meeting me, because I can explain these concepts to you, which might not, by watching YouTube or whatever, you don't get an answer to these concepts. This slide here is showing what is out there, what the market is. Like you can say the fashion industry in general is growing by 10% every year, or the education industry, online education is a $20 billion industry, is growing by 20% in America, and 2%. So this slide is what's going on out there. How you scale you as a company, that comes later in the financial slides, right? How you'll actually get market share, how much you'll grow every year, that comes later in the later slides. This slide is actually what's out there, right? That's the point I want to make. I hope you understand that.
Market intelligence, market knowledge. You must have an excellent and deep understanding of your market. For example, you must know about trends and fads, effect of technology change, history and past. Can you identify the challenges, successes and failures? For example, do you know why companies in the sector failed or did not grow? What are the main successes and failures? What does the future look like for the market? What are the external and uncontrollable factors? Example, economics, politics, regulation, nature. Market stoppers. What are the factors that will slow down or hamper progress? A, regulation. This can be government and industry rules. B, changes in technology. Your company could be ahead or behind the technology curve. C, market risks, for example, seasonal trends in fashion. And B, bureaucracy and red tape, for example, dealing with banks or governments as your customer. Total addressable market. It is important to understand the meaning of total addressable market, TAM. It is the total spend by customers per year in a region, for example, the UK, Europe, or USA. So, it is an indication of the value or size of the market. You can obtain this information from well-known market research firms.
Let's look at some examples now.
Gaming software market. An example is the gaming software market. It is a $138 billion market in 2018. This is the TAM, the total addressable market. The biggest spend is in these regions: the Americas, North and South, $37.7 billion, Europe, Middle East and Africa, $28.7 billion, Far East, Asia Pacific, $71.4 billion. This is the biggest region in the Far East with the biggest spend. So the total TAM worldwide or global is $137.8 billion.
Right. It's amazing how big this gaming industry is. And I think these figures probably 1 or 2 years out of date. Maybe it's 150 billion. Question for Dr. Tahir, if you just want to answer in the chat box, because you're into education, do you think the education industry is bigger than the gaming industry? I would be very interested to know that. So people
that's a tricky one, a very tricky one.
People are spending more time on gaming than on actually learning. I wouldn't be surprised. Honestly.
No, so what is happening is that, this is probably a point in the digital education system where obviously pure play games are going to be there because of the way, but there is going to be a lot of convergence in terms of how education and gamification work. And I don't want to abuse that word gamification, but what will happen is that there is an aspect of games that has to come into education, especially when in this C world, after C world also, that we'll need to kind of converge those. And that is a big thing. Now, to answer your question, is gaming industry is always going to be a lot bigger than the pure educational industry? That's my view, because if you consider gaming, then you start getting into a lot of other aspects, pure play gaming, then there is gambling, then there is poker, then there is all of that stuff. So all of that stuff aside, if you subtract that, then I think in the next 10 years, education gamification will become lot bigger, especially in the times that we are.
Question for Jerome. Have you worked out your TAM for your market? I'm sure you must have, but just want to be sure.
Yes, we have.
Right.
And the other thing is that we address several different sectors. So I've worked that up for each of the sectors.
Fantastic. Do you just want to spend a couple of minutes, tell us how you actually found it, because it's quite tricky to get that research information for your thing?
Yes, you mentioned industry intelligence. It's available, but it's very expensive, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000.
Yeah.
What I've done is a great many hours spent Google searching and finding articles written about certain markets, and in those articles they make reference to specific sectors and just amassing the details. I wind up having an authority list that runs to 2 pages.
But this is a good question to ask you. Have you done it by country, region, or by type of business?
Type of business, actually, because most of the businesses I'm looking at are international anyway.
Oh, I see. So you're saying it wouldn't make sense to do it by country or by continent?
Well, it depends on the industry you're focusing on. One of my major industries is transport and logistics, and that's not a local or regional.
Yeah, of course. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Arvind put in here, Microsoft bought Minecraft for 2.2 billion, right? Okay. Let's see the coffee market.
TAM National, Coffee Market UK. Let's take an example of coffee from a market research report by Allegra Project Cafe 2018. In this example, the market size in 2018 is UK pound sterling 9.6 billion in all of the 24,000 outlets in the UK. So, to work through a simple example to aid your understanding, we need to ask ourselves 3 questions. A, how many people in the UK would visit a coffee shop? say 50 million people out of a total population of 66 million? B, what is the customer spend on average? Say £2 per cup. The ARPU is the average revenue per user. And finally C, how many days in a year would they go to have a coffee in a coffee shop? Say 96 days out of 365 days. So it will result in a total market size for coffee in the UK of 9.6 billion UK pounds sterling.
Okay, the point, you see, the investor might drill down. If you say the market size of the UK for coffee is 10 billion, the investor will ask you, prove it to me. And this, I'm giving you an exercise where you can actually break it down and say, look, if there are 50 million people and each spend £2 on coffee and they buy coffee 10 times in a week, this is how you get the total size of the market. You must be able to break it down further, not just tell the investor, oh, well, UK market is worth 10 billion and that's it. Because that shows that you're not very competent in how you got the figures. The other point is 10 billion for coffee in the UK market looks huge, but to an investor that will look tiny. Because even if you get a small portion of that, you'd be able, it's a very competitive market, you'll be able to get a very small portion. So this is why, like Dr. Tahir and Jerome, you've got to look at international market. You've got to be able to expand globally and get a slice of the whole international market. Look at a local market, is totally useless to an investor, right? This is the issue. I think someone was asking about scaling. Carlos was asking about scaling. They do expect it to be honest, to go from one country then to next and scale internationally. That's the point you have to make as well, to show the investor that you already know what you're talking about.
What are the big growth markets of the future? Examples of 6 big growth markets. Education, for example, online and e-learning. Energy, health, renewable energy, for example, solar, geothermal. Transport and logistics, for example, driverless cars. And banking and financial services.
There are many growth industries, but there are many that are very stagnant as well. So, I mean, one thing that's come up here very recently is, as you can see, Amazon is growing quite fast. So anything selling online is huge. So go for the big industries. I mean, I put education here, so that covers Dr. Tahir's one. Energy could cover a bit of, you could talk something like Jerome's one could cover energy or solar power, that sort of thing, or renewables, or even he was talking of transport, stuff like that. So always go for the big industries. I quickly want to just do a few more minutes on the monetization and metrics without going into the figures, because let's see how this goes.
Section 6, pitch slide 5, monetization and metrics. Revenue model. This slide is about the monetization and metrics of your business model. The investor will want to know how you intend to make money. This also involves the traction or the number of customers you will obtain. How do you make money from your product? It is a product or service that is business to business, B2B, for example, HR or accounting software. Or is it business to customer, B2C, for example, language learning or gaming app? Pricing model. Give the units of, let's take an example of selling coffee. If the sales is $2.50, the cost of producing the cup of coffee is $0.50, then the profit per unit is $2.00. For a subscription service, you can give the annual subscription per user. These figures will be used in slide 9, the financial forecast slide. You will need to convince the investor that A, you have carefully worked through the unit costs, and B, you are confident that the customer will buy at the given price point. How does your price compare with that of the competitor? You must list customers that are using your product or service. Let's ask these questions. Who are your customers? Why are they compelled to buy? Is your offer attractive in the marketplace? List any customers that are using your product. Revenue models. State clearly the revenue model you selected. Is it a freemium? Is it SaaS, i.e. by monthly payments? Or is it pay as you go? You will need to explain why you have selected this monetization model.
Dr. Tahir, is yours a SaaS, or how would you pay for the education?
It's going to be a freemium model, and then combined with pay as you go.
Right. And how much would they pay per month?
So say, for example, it will depend on the market. So currently we are doing a pilot in UK, in India, and in South Africa. We started on 15th actually.
And will they have unlimited access to the course?
No, they will not. And that's the part. That's the part wherein there may be a lifetime subscription, but that will be a far ahead in the roadmap. First would be a freemium model, and then there would be pay as you go for people who actually can't afford and they just want to learn a particular thing, etc., etc. So the model is growing. Yeah. So to answer that, freemium.
Very good what you're doing. Now, this is a very important point Dr. Tahir is doing. He's focusing on one area of one market rather than trying to be spread too much, which makes it very complicated. So if you get to one area, you know the saying that if it works in your back garden, it's probably going to get working. So you try it in one area, see if it works, and then expand it. Jerome, can you briefly explain what type of model you're
Just one more point. Sorry, Asman. So I am actually testing that model or that product, not only with external batches of kids, but my own nieces and nephews for the last 67 days now. So I'm testing it in the backyard.
Jerome, briefly, you want to mention what is your model like?
Yes, so we make a charge for the hardware. It's a once-only charge, and then it's a subscription model. Every month, there's a payment required to send the data through the internet, use of our back end, all of the metrics that we provide. So it's a recurring revenue business model.
Everyone, not only investors, everyone likes a recurring business model. Now, I'm not saying you should have it for your business, but I'm saying this is what everyone prefers because they know that money will come in on a regular basis. This is why an investor loves this model where someone has to pay every month. But of course, the downside with this is you have churn and people canceling after 6 months or 2 months, or credit cards not working, them running out of credit card money and stuff like that. So there's always pluses and minuses, or people even, returning goods and stuff like that. But investors love this sort of model. Now, Vishal is asking me, don't you think showing an overly optimistic TAM might make the investor think you're unrealistic in your assumptions? How would you suggest finding a good balance between realistic and attractive? Right, the TAM, now this is, the TAM is not your opinion. The TAM is what, as Jerome said, or what Dr. Tahir is saying, is what the market researchers have done. And they charge you they sit down for 6 months and do their research and charge £1,000 for that. So it's not your opinion. I told you investors are not interested in your opinion. You have to provide them external evidence of what the TAM is. Hello, Peter from Oxford. Beautiful place. I've been to Oxford and Cambridge. Your question seems a bit long. I don't want to get distracted. That's the only thing. I will come and answer it I just want to do one more thing before we wind up.
Revenue streams. Here are a couple of revenue or business models from Kangaroo and from Enlive.
Okay, folks, I want to end this meeting here. I know there's a very large question from Peter Hayes. Maybe I'll stay on to answer it. What I will do, we can take a few questions, but what I'll do is I'll put you an offer where this is just part of the Udemy slides I have, and there's about there's 11 more sections there. And I can offer this Udemy course for $9.99, but it'll only be valid for 5 days exactly. And of course, I can give Jerome and Dr. Tahir this free. So if you're interested, please, I think can you see it in the chat box? I put the information for this course, so I'll email it to you all. And two things. One is I will give you the recording of this session, so you don't need to take any notes. And if you want to take up the offer of $9.99, going through the whole, going through this whole pitch deck, but don't do it in one sitting. Do it like 10 minutes every day over a period of time. And you'll probably have the best pitch deck preparation you're going to get anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world, as far as I know. If you find something better, let me know. Are there any questions? And not too easy answer. The other thing is, if you decide to take up my Udemy course, which is about 1.5 hours for the $9.99, you can send me specific questions within that course. And of course, I'm constantly updating things on the course as well. Make sure you'll have watched the 2 videos I suggested everyone looks at, which I gave. It's on the meetup page at the bottom in the comments section. And I think I've emailed you all. In the email I sent to you all with the web link for the webinar at the bottom, there should be links to videos. So I'm constantly adding things as well. Peter, maybe you can send me an email or just contact me on via Meetup, and I'll answer your question there, because I might end up getting distracted. Thanks everyone. And of course, Jerome and Dr. Tahir, you all can get the course free. And I hope you all got some value for this. Hope you'll take up the offer for $9.99 and take up my course. And best of luck with your pitches. Please practice and hope it goes well for you. And I'll send you an email and be in touch. Thanks very much indeed.